Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. It's me, Niall. Delighted as always to be joined by Thomas, and we're here reacting to what we've just seen from Las Vegas in an incredible fight. You could say that was a fight of the year contender, as Lester Martinez and Christian and Billy have battled to a 10-round draw in an absolutely grueling firefight at the Allegiant Stadium in the super middleweight division. Thomas, I'm breathless after that fight, to be honest with you. It was just incredible. A draw. I suppose the first place to start is your opinion on the verdict. How did you see it in terms of scoring, and also, yeah, just your thoughts on that excellent fight.
Honestly, I'm not mad at the draw result. I do think that Billy, at least in my opinion, was slightly out in front for most of the way. And then those last few rounds, he just kind of fell apart just slightly. It seemed like those punches from Martinez were starting to get to him a little bit. And yeah, I think that he probably certainly lost the last like two or three rounds, which I think makes the even scorecard for me accurate. I don't know if I saw a 97 to 93 for Martinez. I thought that was a little off base, but for the most part, I think the decision was correct. I'm not mad at the draw at all.
Yeah, I have to agree. I can't say I scored it round for round, as it was a very hard fight to score. Such back and forth. But I've no arguments. That's one of those fights where a draw, absolutely the fair result. It really is. And I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of the assessment of the fight. I thought Billy was ahead early on. I thought he was in charge. He was kind of making Martinez battle, so hard every second of the fight. But then, as you said perfectly, I do think Martinez took charge late on, and I think he did hurt in Billy on a couple of occasions down the stretch. So I do think that's what kind of tipped the balance more towards his favor for the draw. But absolutely incredible, incredible fight. It's going to be a fight of the year contender. We were just saying off camera there, the pace is relentless. I was really looking forward to this fight. I think in terms of excitement, this is probably the fight I was looking forward to the most on the card in terms of stylistically. It was even better than I thought it was going to be. Right from the opening bell, relentless pace from both men, and I just don't know how you can keep that up and also take such punishment from, they're both big, big punchers. How can you stand in the pocket all night and just trade bombs and not go down? It's absolutely incredible. It really is. I suppose it's hard now in terms of saying what's next. Well, we know what should be next, is a rematch. How would you see a rematch going? Do you think it will be a rematch, and how would you kind of tip the balance of the rematch still?
I think they should absolutely do a rematch, and I think it should be 12 rounds instead of 10. I don't know why this one wasn't 12 rounds. I thought that was a little weird, even though it was for, and Billy's the interim champion. You would think since it's, interim, they would at least make it 12 rounds. But um, yeah, I would like to see a rematch 12 rounds. And if it goes 12 rounds, I see that here's the thing is I don't think either guy is really going to change anything for the rematch. I think they're probably just going to, duke it out just like they did this time. And if it's a little bit longer, I think perhaps Lester Martinez would outlast Billy. So I hope they run it back. And I would have to say, or early predictions, but I would probably favor Martinez like late stoppage or a close decision if they did have a rematch.
Yeah, I agree again. I think it has to be a rematch after that. It was so entertaining. You make a good point. It should be 12. I didn't even really think of that. It was strange that it was only 10. It's only kind of occurred to me now when you said it. I don't know why it's 10 rounds, especially as you say, it's for an interim title. So it should be 12. You know, I would have loved to see another 2 rounds of that. I would have loved to see another 5 rounds. In the old days of the 15 round fights, that would have been incredible. Yeah, and in terms of a rematch, the prediction for a rematch, I'd have to go with Martinez as well, just on how we finished that fight. I thought Christian and Billy was going to win coming into this. A lot of people did, of course, relatively big favorite there. Just on experience, I thought he'd get it done. But on how Martinez finished that fight, I think I'd edge him in a rematch, and Billy threw the kitchen sink at him and couldn't put a dent in him really. So yeah, I think I'd just favour Martinez in that one. So yeah, hopefully we see it again. Just quickly before we kind of wrap up, I know it's hard to kind of, again, with the draw, discuss this, but I'll kind of get your opinion kind of briefly on both men. Could you see either of these men becoming world champion at 168?
Ooh. You know, I thought that MBILLI was almost certainly going to be a title holder at some point, and I think he probably still will be, once Canelo relinquishes the belts. I certainly don't think he beats Canelo, but if Canelo ever relinquishes those belts, maybe he gets his hands on them. But I definitely don't really like, what I saw from and Billy towards the end. I mean, yeah, he kept a tremendous pace and he kept it up for most of the way, but yeah, he was just getting caught with shots that he shouldn't have, and I mean, he really should have won that fight. I mean, for most of the way, it seemed like he was in, had at the very least a slight edge, and yeah, he just kind of, like I said, he just kind of fell apart towards the end. So. Martinez, I think they're both kind of like right at the same level. I don't know if I really feel, although I'd pick him to win a rematch slightly. I don't know if I'd really see him becoming a title holder, but perhaps. But I would love to see a rematch either way.
Yeah, again, I have to agree. I think, it's a very interesting super middleweight division now. It was a bit quiet a few years ago, but now the names that are coming up, the likes of these two, the likes of Hamza Shiraz, Pacheco, Iglesias, names like that, it's fascinating. And I do think after tonight, those belts even if it's after tonight or in the near future, those belts will be broken up. And I think Billy could do it. I think Lester Martinez could do it, fighters, exciting fighters at 168, but flawed fighters. But I have to agree with what you said. In Billy, has plenty of flaws, and against a more kind of clever fighter with power, I think he could come unstuck, be hurt, and be possibly stopped against maybe the likes of a Hamza Shiraz or names like that. But I really hope we see these fights, whether it be a Martinez rematch or some of the names I mentioned there, because it's an outstanding division, full of real kind of heavy hitters and real quality operators. So yeah, the future is bright for both of these men and the 168 division, the super middleweight division. That was just myself and Thomas reacting to what we've just seen from Las Vegas, Nevada, the Allegiant Stadium, a fight of the year contender. An epic between Christian and Billy and Lester Martinez is finished in a draw. Let us know what you think. Very curious to see what you think in the comments. How did you score that? What did you think of that fight? And what's next for both men? Yeah, so drop a comment, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not doing so already, and follow us on all social media. Thomas, it was a pleasure. Take care.
Of course, thank you.